Welcome to Sports Pod, Episode 1. My name is Brandon.
My name is Minute Maid Mike.
And this is our weekly podcast where we basically going to be talking about any sports news, any predictions, just anything that really has to pertain with sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here we go.
World.
Yeah, hopefully we're not a one-week hit, one-week wonder.
That'd be good if that didn't happen.
So have you been paying attention to the news lately?
A little bit.
Yeah?
A little bit.
So you've probably heard about a gentleman that went to Texas A&M, won a Heisman, drafted 22nd, 23rd, something like that, a few years back. Mr. Johnny Manziel. What's your opinion on this?
Johnny.
I guess tell us what's been happening or what.
Well, Johnny has been getting into some trouble as of late. He, from what I understood, beginning of the season, where he was kind of having his partying days and whatnot, typical, early 20s kind of kid, I believe he signed a contract, right, an agreement with the Browns not to partake in the alcoholic.
See, I don't know that for a fact.
I don't know that from what
I've never heard that. You've told me this before, but I've maybe they came into agreement. I don't know if he ever signed something. I don't know if there was a verbal or if there was
a blood contract. But either way, I know that they wanted him to stop partying and doing that fun stuff. I say fun stuff, but that kind of distracting type of lifestyle. And, it was almost week after week. He would have either a DWI or he would get pulled over.
Yeah, it wasn't a DWI. He was.
But he would get pulled over, and he had alcohol in his system, but not over the legal limit.
Yeah, he had one beer. He was pulled, and that was actually the first time we've heard about an incident with a girlfriend or now currently ex-girlfriend.
Right.
Basically, they were in the vehicle. I do not know what went on. Basically, I know they were in a disagreement about something.
Right.
She apparently threw his wallet out of the window while they were driving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's whenever that's when the cops started coming. And from basically everything I've heard, but it seemed like there for 3 or 4 weeks in a row. It was every week something happening with him.
It really was. He was in the news.
Their bye week. I know he went to Austin. Was in Austin. There's a video of him. Surfaced of him partying up on a stage with some champagne.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? There was a few other ones that.
There were. I can't remember exactly what went down each and every time, but I know there were things that the Browns obviously weren't too thrilled about. He lost his starting position to one of the events,
and which he lost his starting position. He was demoted to third string.
Right.
The next week. McCown, I believe, was their backup. Was it?
So.
Let me look that up real quick. I believe it was McCown. McCown went in, was hurt, and then I think he fractured his clavicle like Tony Romo did. I think it was right after Romo did it the second time.
That's contagious. You need to be careful with that.
Yes, Josh McCown. So Josh McCown was in. He got hurt. I believe Austin Davis, and I'm not 100% sure if that was him or not. Austin Davis came in and was in. He just did terrible. He just did absolutely terrible. And Johnny actually got his starting job back.
Yeah.
And then, did Johnny get hurt towards the end of the season or no? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I know he really. I don't remember him being.
Yeah, he played. Let's see. He played the 49ers on the 13th of December, the Seahawks on the 20th, and the Chiefs on the 22nd.
Yeah, I don't think. I remember him sitting a lot, but it wasn't. I don't think any of it was due to injury.
Regular season, threw for 1,500 yards this season, 7 TDs and 5 interceptions, 79 QBR.
Well, see the sad. sad story here. I guess the sad part of everything.
Well, I guess we haven't touched on the new news though.
Right. Yeah.
Then what's been circulating in the media today
Right.
is last Saturday, January 30th, I believe. He was in Dallas, was in a hotel room with his girlfriend at the time, and again they had some disagreement, and allegedly struck his girlfriend. It came out in the news. The Browns already.
Prior to that.
Yeah, prior to this happening, already mentioned that they were looking to drop Manziel in early March. There was a few teams that came up. They said the Cowboys were interested. I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not, but said that the Cowboys are interested. The police are investigating. He was not charged of anything at this time. They're investigating. So I don't want to say it's not confirmed yet. But I feel like I kind of want to hear what the police statement has to say.
Oh, right.
Or the police report,
Right, yeah, we don't know. I mean...
Everything's, up in the air right now.
Right.
From what I've heard, she may have had some past experience with, getting in some drama. I'm not too sure if she's just saying this or if it actually happened. I hope it doesn't. It didn't happen.
Right.
Just because it's a terrible thing you could do,
Right.
and I you know me, I like Johnny Manziel. I do like him,
you're
and if that happens, I unfortunately am not going to be able to like the guy after that.
You know me, I was never on the Johnny football bandwagon. However, I texted you last night about it. At this point in his life, I mean, I genuinely hope that he gets the help that he needs. I mean, he's kind of proven at times that he's a very capable, young man on the football field. But his personal life is just spiraling downward, and I feel that, like I said, I've never been a big fan of him. You know me, I'm not the kind of guy that goes for the flashy, look at me type players, but. At this point, he needs help, and I really hope he gets it. His father made a statement that he doesn't, if he continues this way, he doesn't feel he'll, see 24, which is kind of scary.
And I know his from what I read that his dad actually reached out to him twice in the last week and asked him to seek rehab.
Yeah.
And apparently, I guess declined or told him, no, he's perfectly fine. He doesn't need it. Johnny. If you're watching, please get help. Please get help. You're great football. You're a great football player. You can be a great quarterback in the league, but I honestly think Johnny needs to seek rehab or something. And then maybe this will all blow over and it didn't happen and it's just a misunderstanding or something. But at this time, it's hard to tell. So
well, I think one way or the other. I think as far as the the drinking, I think that's something that he should seek help for. I don't know what happened between him and his girlfriend. I think the last thing I would hope, well, maybe not on his mind, but I think the last thing on his dad's mind or those close to him are who's interested, in Johnny Manziel as far as the football player. I know the Cowboys officially said they're not pursuing him.
Yeah.
Which
I saw a report today of Mark Davis. That's the owner of the Raiders, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That someone asked Mark Davis that would he be interested in Johnny Manziel, and he said, "Ask Reggie," who I believe Reggie is their general manager. I'm not sure.
Well, Mark's always kind of been
Reggie McKenzie is the GM.
GM of the Raiders. I think that I don't think he's beyond a comeback. I mean, we've seen guys go through stuff that didn't exactly blow over. Been suspended for a year, a whole season, things of that nature. Recently, even just this year. We had AP come back with a beast year. We had Greg Hardy who had a decent year with the Cowboys. We've seen Ray Rice, who's a free agent.
Yeah, he's still a free agent. Nobody had. I believe he worked out for somebody, but
Yeah.
I don't remember.
We got Mike Vick, right? I mean, that's not this year, but I mean, the NFL is full of stories of comebacks, and I think that it's a possibility that Johnny Football can make a comeback. But I hope that, first and foremost, he gets the help that he needs to.
Looks like Ray Rice worked out for Kansas City back in October of 2015. So that's who he worked out for. So,
Gotcha.
But yeah, I agree. Yeah, we've had athletes that have done terrible things and
Right.
made a second chance or have had a second chance at sports. But I'm hoping everything goes well for Johnny. Hope to see him again in the NFL one day. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I would definitely like to see.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hope that this isn't the last you see of
Yeah.
him. I mean, I hope if his attitude changes about we'll say overconfidence. I think I could eventually be a Johnny fan, but as of right now, I just hope he gets help.
Now, touching on that, you mentioned that the Cowboys. Jerry Jones said, I know, and I'm not sure if he was referring to both of the players or just any young player, but he said that he was interested in, or he would take a chance on a young quarterback, and I think he was referring to RG3 and Johnny Manziel.
Right.
Do you think, after Washington? It looks like Washington is going to cut ties with RG3 after last year, after the season. Do you think the Cowboys will actively pursue him?
Well, you know me. I hope so. I think I've always been a big fan of RG3's character. He's got a really great character. He's got morals, and I think that's something that maybe not every NFL player has had, especially as of late. But I think he proved that he can have a great season in the NFL. His rookie season was obviously his best up to date, but he really competed with Andrew Luck that year. And Andrew Luck, I know he had kind of some hiccups this year, but Andrew Luck's an amazing quarterback.
A lot of injuries this year.
Yeah, great athlete, and in RG3, and he's got a great arm. I think a lot of it, and everybody talks about how it's mental. I think a lot of it has to deal with maybe the head coaching situation, who didn't truly back him up, and that's kind of tough for a quarterback when you go in there, because you look at guys like, even let's say Jay Cutler, who he's had his downs, but he can still go out there and compete, and I think it's because he's able to shake off a lot of what's said. Jay, isn't known for having the absolute best character, but he's a quarterback. He has a short term memory.
Yes.
I think RG3 could benefit from that. I'm a huge fan. You know me. I'm a huge fan of his character and who he is as a football player. So I think he can do well. I think he can produce. I think he can compete. With a guy like Romo ahead of him, I don't see him succeeding.
Now, what I see though is Romo's has been injury plagued last year. This past season,
right,
he broke his collarbone twice.
Yeah.
And then previous, he has, was it 2010? That happened 2010.
2010 he
broke his collarbone.
Yeah, it was his collarbone.
Fractured his clavicle.
Right.
But what I'm seeing is they're not bringing RG3 in to compete against Romo.
No.
I say Romo's got 2 more years if he can be healthy.
Right.
After that, I'm thinking they develop him under Romo.
Yeah.
And he's going to come in. He's not coming to the Cowboys to take Romo's job.
Yeah, when I said compete, I didn't mean like compete firsthand against Romo. Okay. I just meant compete.
I got you.
Yeah, in the atmosphere. Romo recently said in I think it was yesterday. Yeah, the interview. His back's never felt better. He mentioned he realized that his clavicle his collarbone wasn't 100% when he came back, but they asked him if he would do it again, and his answer, paraphrasing here, but was in a heartbeat. He said at that time they needed me. He's like, there wasn't. He's like, if I wait to
Yeah,
come back,
I think they were one game out of first place at that time.
Yeah, if he waited to come back, they probably wouldn't have made the playoffs anyways. So it was kind of a do or die moment, and he chose to come in, which I think that's great. You know, as an athlete, you see Big Ben, who you know plays through multiple injuries. I think Romo, who's had broken ribs, a punctured lung, you know, can be considered up there with Big Ben as far as being tough. So we know you know that's not even a question.
Yeah.
We know he's tough. But yeah, he mentioned that he should be good, or he will be good either way by May. You know, he'll basically have all his workouts that he's been doing, you know, set up. So yeah, I think Cowboys are looking decent for next year. We have the Sorry. We had the technical difficulties, guys. We had the who's making the? Oh well, we had the Eagles this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who had DeMarco Murray. Kind of took him a little bit to find his niche, right? He struggled for many weeks starting out the season. Just talking about finding holes, developing the run, which was weird because I mean, I'm trying to think of how many running backs they had.
They have Murray,
Right.
Sproles. They have Sproles.
Yeah, I think they have Sproles.
And Matthews, Ryan Matthews.
Yeah, Ryan Matthews. They had kind of like a three-headed monster a bit there. Murray especially when he played the Cowboys. I remember watching that game.
He only had 702 rushing yards this year.
That's kind of
compared to what he did last year.
It's a bit different from last year. Yeah, he because with the Cowboys he had
1845 last year.
Yeah, and 4.7 average and 13 TDs with looks like 57 receptions. Here with the Eagles, he had half the attempts.
He had 13 attempts for 2 yards against the Cowboys in week 2.
Right.
That was the week where Romo broke his clavicle for the first time. He had 8 attempts, 9 yards on week 1. He had 36 yards on the third week. He only broke over 100 yards once this year, and that was against the Giants in week 5.
Yeah, I know the game against the Cowboys, he had, he went 4.6, which I think was one of his highest averages this year. Maybe probably fourth highest, maybe. But he kind of came back with a little bit of a vengeance there after the first game. But yeah, this year's kind of been one of those years as far as players expected to do big, and then they kind of fail a little bit, and then players who you didn't think would do much came out of Doug Martin.
Yeah,
was one of those players that
got me great fantasy points.
Yeah, I'm glad you got him. Coming into the year, I actually had a chance to pick him up in fantasy, and I said, he hasn't really, been relevant as far as fantasy points for a couple seasons, so I didn't get him, and then you got him, and how did he do for you?
Great. A few weeks he was down, but the weeks that I think he had one game with like 240 yards rushing and like 4 touchdowns. It was ridiculous. Something crazy.
Ask me how I did in fantasy this year.
How'd you do?
I went like, was it 3-10?
Did you?
Yeah, it was not good.
Well, I mean, you did have room. But you did pick up. You had Brady.
I got Brady in like the 9th round.
Yeah, because everybody thought he was going to be suspended for the 4 games, and then after our draft, it was like, boom.
Yeah, to be honest,
you're going to be there.
To be honest, my quarterback situation probably improved a little bit as far as fantasy.
I don't think you heard on that aspect. Who was your top? Was Calvin Johnson your top receiver?
Oh, it's either Calvin Johnson.
Speaking of Calvin Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Retiring.
I can't believe that.
30 years old.
Yeah, 30 years old.
I know he's had a few head injuries. I heard a rumor at one time also, and I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but that what's his name? Beast Mode.
Oh,
Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch.
Was that he was retiring at the end
Right.
of this year. I don't think that's happening.
I would hope not.
He is a great running back, but I heard that rumor. I hope it's not going to happen.
Right.
But
Yeah, Calvin Johnson was that last year? Looks like he had 88 receptions, 9 TDs, 1,214 receiving yards.
was this past season or the year before? Was this?
It looks like the year before.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It looks like this past season.
Okay.
Is what I meant to say.
Which is actually kind of a down year for him.
Yeah, which most receivers would be happy with that.
I know he broke the record, a year or two ago? Let's see.
Oh, yeah, for receiving yards?
Yes, he had 1960. That was in 2012. That was actually a couple years back. But 1,964. He had 1,492 in 2013, 1,077 in 2014, and 1,214 in 2015.
What's funny is this was kind of a comeback year from last year.
Yeah.
Where he only had 1,077 yards.
6 years in a row he had over 1,000 yards. Could have been 8, but he missed it by 16 yards in 2009.
Yeah. Which would have made it 8 seasons in a row. That's insane. Yeah, he's been, he's just been an absolute monster.
I feel bad for Stafford. Stafford has no offensive line.
That's true.
He could throw the ball up to Calvin, and he would grab it 8 times out of 10. He would be able to grab it out of there.
Yeah.
Him and Stafford destroyed the Cowboys.
A couple times. I'd rather not talk about that.
They destroyed the Cowboys, but it's I'm happy for him. He's doing what's best for him. But it is going to be sad not to see him on Sundays anymore. So.
Oh yeah, he was drafted 2nd overall in 2007.
Who went number? Can you tell me who went number 1 in that draft?
In that particular draft, let me double check for you. But yeah, since then, he's been just an absolute monster.
Yeah.
For the Lions, and like you said, Stafford's number one pick every time he goes there. Jamarcus Russell was number 1.
How does that work out for you, Oakland?
I'm sorry, Oakland. Y'all could have, that happens a lot. Joe Thomas was number 3.
AP 7th.
AP was 7th. LaRon Landry. I don't know if he's lost a bit. He's a pretty he was kind of
Marshawn to Buffalo on 12.
Hard-hitting safety. Patrick Willis to San Fran, number 11. Marshawn went 12 to Buffalo. Terrell Revis to the Jets, number 14.
That's a pretty stacked draft.
Yeah. Timmons, obviously linebacker for the Steelers. Been pretty solid. Just trying to think. We have Brandon Merriweather, who was a safety, went to the New England Patriots. He's been a pretty hard-hitting safety for them. We got, Anthony Spencer to the Cowboys. Greg Olsen to the Chicago Bears. He's going to be competing tomorrow. Let's see here. Eric Weddle for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Zach Miller for the Raiders. And trying to think of any. Oh, Steve Smith to the New York Giants. He's winning.
That
can't be the Steve. I'm sorry. That's the other Steve Smith. Trying to think of anybody. Oh, Ryan Khalil. Jacoby Jones went to the Texans that year. So that was
a pretty stacked draft.
Yeah, that was a
But I can't believe DeMarcus. I understand all the hype coming out of college, but it's just like Calvin Johnson going number 2 to Detroit. Who knows? Maybe DeMarcus could have done something to try. I don't know. You can't really speculate on that. But did you catch any games last night?
We talking NBA?
Yes.
I did. Well, I got a little bit. I was actually out eating.
Yeah.
But the Spurs game was on the latter half.
Yeah.
The first.
I was out to dinner and they had the Hawks Pacers game on, which was interesting. It was a very back and forth game. Hawks pulled it out. I think they won 102-96.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George had a great game. His stat line was looks like 31 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. Al Horford also had a nice little stat night, 21, 7, and 6. Pacers, Paul George. I am so happy for that guy coming back from that nasty injury a few years ago in the USA.
That was a viral
practice
video
game.
too.
It was
That was
terrible.
disturbing to watch.
I was watching it live and it was terrible to see happen.
That replay wasn't probably your
Yeah,
favorite.
no. Then they kept showing it. It's like, ESPN, come on. What are we doing here? Heat won. Heat beat Hornets 98-95. Goran had 12.
By 3. Nice.
By 3. But Hornets, what happened to the Heat? I mean, I feel like they have a spark sometimes, and then sometimes they're struggling. They still have Bosch, they still have Wade. They got Goran, they got a good point guard. A good passing point guard, not really known as a high scorer, but
right.
Marvin Williams.
Fun
fact of the day, I think it was 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong. No, not 2000. I have to look that up. That does not sound right. Went number 2 in the draft from North Carolina. But had
UNC.
Marvin Williams, 2005, second pick. Had 27 points last night. Whiteside had a triple-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 blocks.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a solid game, all around.
And also they have, is it Justice Winslow they have on the team?
They have
Justice Winslow. He's from Duke.
Beno.
Beno, old Spur.
Amari. They got
Amari's on the Heat. I did not know that.
Luol Deng.
They picked up Deng after LeBron left.
I don't blame them.
Clippers had a pretty solid game. 107-93 over the Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Chris had 21, 4, and 6, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Evan Fournier, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. John Wall had a triple-double in their win over the 76ers.
One of 3.
Whiteside, John Wall, and Boogie.
Boogie.
Who else we got? Kings. Here's Boogie. Kings actually lost. Boogie got a triple-double with Nets. Beat him 128 and 119. It's a high-scoring game. That's defense. No defense in that game.
That is a 2K game there.
Joe Johnson had 27, 6, and 11. Celtics over the Cavaliers. Did you see that? Did you see this?
I did not get to see
So, three-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was Evan Turner, and I may be totally wrong on that, but let's see, Evan Turner. But basically, at the last second, hit a three-pointer to, no, it wasn't Evan Turner. Who was it? Was it Avery?
I didn't get to see. I wouldn't know who.
Avery Bradley, yep. Avery Bradley hit a buzzer-beating 3 to beat the Cavs by 104-103.
Oh, I saw. I didn't click on the. I did see the link on Facebook. I just never clicked on it.
Yeah, LeBron finished with 30, 7 and 4, and Evan Turner at 19 and 12.
Yeah, I think it was SportsCenter's photo of the night.
Yeah, Grizzlies beat Knicks. I'm not sure if Carmelo's back, but Jeff Green had 16 and 5. Yeah, Carmelo's back because he played again. Did you see Carmelo against Steph Curry the other night?
Oh, yeah.
Palming his head.
Yeah.
He still drained the 3.
That was pretty insane.
Yeah, that's Steph Curry. He's crazy. Jeff Green was 16 and 5, and Kristaps Porzingis was 17 and 10. Bulls and Nuggets. This was an interesting game. In the second quarter,
Chicago Bulls.
Jimmy Butler went up for a layup, landed awkwardly.
Mm-hmm.
Was on the ground for a little while.
We're talking about Jimmy Butler, franchise player.
Yeah.
Right.
Signed a, I think, 5-year, $90 million, 90-plus contract this past offseason. Hit the ground. They put him in a wheelchair, got up, knocked down his 2 free throws. I'm not sure if he shot his 2 free throws. I don't know if he made them. He shot his 2 free throws. He got back in the wheelchair and they wheeled him back and did not return in the game.
What else
Rose.
do you expect?
Well,
What else do you expect?
I believe the Bulls were up by 18 in the third quarter,
Mm-hmm.
and the Nuggets just went crazy on them and ended up winning by 5, 115 to 110. Even having D Rose almost a triple double with 30, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Man. Well, you know, the Bulls currently are 27-22. I think, record-wise, I think a lot of those games were not...
Or been a very close game.
Right, yeah. Kind of fourth quarter mishaps and stuff like that.
Yeah. Danilo Gallinari had 33 with three rebounds. Jazz squeaked by the Bucks 84-81. Jared Bayless with 15. Rudy Gobert with 15. And the most interesting game to me last night. The San Antonio Spurs versus the Dallas Mavericks.
Sure.
At halftime,
Mm-hmm.
the Spurs were winning 64-26. I think I sent you a picture of that, or I sent you a picture of something.
You did. That's what I was watching.
I think it was 24-12 in the first quarter.
Yeah,
ended up being 116-90. Really the Spurs coasted the rest of the game. LaMarcus ended up with double-double, 14 and 10. Charlie Villanueva had 13. Kawhi played 27 minutes, had 23 points. And Patty Mills off the bench had played 15 minutes and 16 points. Dallas has been hit and miss for me this year. Some games they've been playing great with Parsons and Dirk, and then sometimes they just they've struggled.
Were they the first team to beat?
Yes,
Okay.
no, I don't know if they weren't the first team. They did beat Golden State, but it was without Steph Curry. Steph Curry was out with a shin injury at the time. But are you looking forward to next week? I think it's next weekend's All-Star game.
Yes and no.
I mean, you got Pop coaching, you got Kawhi and LaMarcus in there. We're if anybody couldn't tell yet, big Spurs fans. We are both big Spurs fans, big NBA fans. But I'm happy to see Pop getting to be able to. And I feel bad for Luke Walton. Luke Walton did a great job in replacement of, why Steve Kerr was out with his back injury.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, on the books, it shows Luke Walton with 0 wins after they started that great year.
Yeah.
I'm guessing since Steve Kerr wasn't there, they didn't offer to. They decided to go with the second best team, and that's with the Spurs.
Yeah.
On the East side, I feel that Tyronn Lue should not be able to coach it. I feel like the Raptor. What's his name? Dwayne Casey, I believe. Should coach the. Let's see. Yes, Dwayne Casey. I believe Dwayne Casey. They're the second best team.
Right.
It's in Toronto. Tyronn Lue has coached when it comes to it, maybe 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 10 games. I feel that Dwayne Casey should have been awarded the head coaching position, not Tyronn Lue, but can't really do anything.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great game, but I want to say the West starting 5 is one of the best of all time. Starting 5 all-star team.
Who do they got?
They have Steph Curry,
Right.
Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm. Is Russell going to
It's Russell and Steph in the front court or in the back court. And then you have Kevin, Kawhi, and I can't remember who the 5th person is. I've done this so many times.
Already with 4, that is a solid. You can't. Steph is having, just a legendary year, especially from beyond the arc.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's remarkable. Trying to find it. I can't.
You're good. So I think a lot of people would say Steph alone is probably one of the
Kobe. Kobe's a 5th. That just came to mind. That's Kobe's last.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant's last year.
Kobe.
Kobe's last year. And in the West,
Or East.
I'm sorry, in the East, I know it's Kyle Lowry,
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, and I'm trying to pull it up, and for some reason here we go, roster. Here we go. It's LeBron, Paul George, Carmelo, Dwayne, and Kyle Lowry. And then you got...
I'm sorry. Is this what LeBron meant when he told Dwayne that they would play together again?
I believe so. We're going to play together again, and that's going to be in the 2016 All-Star game in Toronto. Jimmy Butler is a reserve, DeMar DeRozan, Paul Millsap, Andre Drummond, Chris Bosh, John Wall, and Isaiah Thomas.
And maybe after the night he had last night, maybe it's easier to make a case for it. John Wall, I feel, has been underrated.
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Pretty much all of his career.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know. It looked like for a while him and Beal were going to be the best backcourt in the NBA, and then all of a sudden Steph and Clay, just blew everybody out of the water.
Yeah.
And Beal has had an up and he's been up and he's down. John Wall's been very consistent, but he can be a scoring point guard, but he also can be a guy that can dish out a lot of assists. I want to say he's underrated, but or overlooked a lot, but I don't know. I would like to see them do a little bit more. I'd like to see them more kind of go deep. I think they went second round last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, right. I believe so.
But in the West, you got Draymond Green, who's a very good defender. As this is your reserves: Draymond, James Harden, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Boogie, DeMarcus Cousins, and LaMarcus Aldridge, rounding out the Western bench. Now, they just announced this a few days ago. So I'm going to get your predictions on a few things. Okay. We got dunk contest, and we got the three-point contest.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So you dunk, you got your reigning champion, Zach LaVine, who can jump out of a building.
Yeah, he's got ridiculous.
Then you got Aaron Gordon from Orlando. You got a forward in there, Andre Drummond, and I believe Will Barton from Denver is a forward also.
Well, surprisingly, not surprisingly, he is a forward. Andre Drummond can get up there, and obviously they don't get people in the dunk contest.
See, I feel like they can get up there, but nobody's gonna have the style and the creativity that Zach LaVine brought.
I can't disagree with that.
I don't see anybody beating him.
I think he's one of those guys that you don't picture being able to pull off a lot of the things that he does, and then so when he does it, it makes it even that much more amazing. But no, you're right. Yeah, he's an absolute monster when it comes to creativity and obviously pulling it off. I think as far as 3-point, I think in his sleep, Steph Curry.
Your 3-point participants are Steph Curry, James Harden, Klay Thompson, Chris Middleton, Kyle Lowry, JJ Redick, Chris Bosh, and Devin Booker. I think JJ's going to take it this year. JJ is just been on fire beyond. I think it's the new tattoos. Have you seen his tattoos?
I have not.
Let me pull it up here. If you haven't seen it, look at JJ Redick's tattoos.
I think if they get like a shoulder strap, that will have like a prosthetic hand in Steph's face, he'll drain each and every one of them. Because I swear, when somebody's got a hand in his face, he just sinks it no matter where he's at. So I think if he could get like some sort of backpack harness type thing with a hand in his face.
So on JJ's left arm, he's got a half sleeve now.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
it's an interesting.
I don't know. He's playing great. I'm picking JJ. Excuse me. Steph is probably going to win it, but I'm going to pick. I'm going with JJ.
Well, no, and I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I mean, I think any one of these guys would have a shot. I think I'm going to pick Steph for the argument of, or for the sake of just picking Steph.
Yeah.
But real quick to stray away from the All Star game a little bit. Speaking of Steph and the Golden State Warriors, how about this? The first time in NBA history that two teams have won at least 42 of their first 50 games.
That's crazy.
That's an insane stat. To only lose 8 within the first 50 games is already an accomplishment, but to have two teams that have won at least 42, is quite remarkable. And I think. I've actually been a fan of Kerr for a while. I like his broadcasting. I know sometimes kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say disagree, but, everybody's got their, not everybody agrees 100% with me,
Definitely.
So with Kerr, it's kind of the same thing. But no, he's had a great commentator career, obviously a great playing career with the Bulls and then even with the Spurs. But I've always respected him, and when he became the head coach, I was almost surprised. I'm not surprised that he's doing well, but I was surprised that he got out of the commentating game a little bit, and maybe those close to him weren't surprised. I don't know. Me as a fan was a little surprised, happy, but still surprised. And what he's done with Golden State, which I think, and maybe it comes, I don't know, maybe it comes from Phil, maybe it comes from Pop. Maybe it comes from both. I mean, that's an insane group to have as mentors, right?
Yeah, definitely. Two great coaches.
Yeah, I think the Golden State Warriors would look different if it weren't for Steve Kerr. I think certain little tweaks here and there have helped them tremendously. Don't get me wrong, Clay and Steph kind of on their own, I think, would succeed anywhere. But I think as a
Draymond came out of nowhere too. Yeah. And he also is a triple double waiting to happen every night. And it's not that he's going to score 30 points.
Yeah,
he may score 10, but he'll get 10 assists and 10 rebounds to go with that. So, but let's tonight's games. We have a few games. So we have Lakers and the Spurs. I believe
last game in SA.
Yeah, if Spurs win, they have 28 and 0 at home this year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they're going for that. Yep. So then you got Trailblazers at Rocket, Wizards at Hornets, Pistons at Pacers, Pelican at Cleveland. LeBron. I expect LeBron to get 35 plus tonight. Nets at 76ers. Mavericks are on a back-to-back against the Grizzlies. Bulls as well are against the Timberwolves. Jazz at Suns. And my game of the night, which I suspect no defense at all will be played. The Thunder at Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
And I am excited to watch Steph versus Russell. Russell's bigger. Steph, if Russell plays defense, Steph sometimes struggles when a larger defender is on him, and he does have height on him. He played shooting guard in his college, and transferred to point guard when he came into Oklahoma. But I'm excited to see. I think the Warriors will pull it out, but KD and Russell on a team will be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's going to be a phenomenal game. And sad news, moving on from NBA, Dave Mirra.
Yeah.
Grew up watching him.
Shocking.
If anybody doesn't know, he apparent suicide. He was in his home. I think his hometown in North Carolina, Greensboro. Apparent suicide. Shot himself. He was in his truck and apparently
the bed of his truck.
And shot himself. It's really really sad. Rest in peace. It was he was great.
14 gold medals.
Something ridiculous.
And multiple other awards. It's one of those guys, and I think we see it too often here in I say Hollywood, but I think in the celebrity world or the celebrity status. People you would think kind of have already accomplished so much, and you wouldn't think that they would be struggling. I think as fans and as kind of normal people, we see that and we say, well, what was wrong with their life? I think he had 2 kids and a wife, I believe.
Yes, 2. Yep.
Right. And that's something that you just can't imagine somebody taking themselves away from. But we never know what's going on inside, and that was one of those things. Definitely growing up, I mean, he just owned the BMX world,
Yeah,
right? And I think he was tied with, or him and I think it was Tony Hawk had, the most gold medals and the fewest appearances. And so it's at the X Games, and it's insane to just hear one of your childhood heroes, because I mean, growing up, BMX was it. BMX was one of the coolest. If you didn't have a bike with pegs, you were just. I mean,
what kind of childhood did you live?
Like, I had a Huffy and people made fun of me. So, but no, it was just. It's one of those things that it's a childhood memory, and you don't expect that happening. But yeah, very sad news. Like you said, rest in peace, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family in this tough time.
Definitely.
But real quick before we move on to the last of the NFL, I did want to say a stat that I thought was pretty interesting recently here. Neymar, moving on to the football world or the soccer world. Neymar, okay, so Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest to ever play the game, along with Lionel Messi, also obviously one of the greatest to ever play the game, did not accomplish something that Neymar has accomplished.
Well, tell me what
in his 24 years of life, he's had in the 343 club games, he's had 209 goals, 69 international goals, and 69 international games and 46 international goals. Neither Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi have accomplished that.
That's crazy.
And that's, I mean, don't get me wrong, Neymar is an amazing player. He's very, very young, very amazing player. Messi and Ronaldo, who you would think, I know their early careers weren't, I guess, as highlighted as Neymar's is, but looking at them now and knowing that they didn't even accomplish this is insane.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like saying...
And you have Neymar and Messi on the same team.
That's true. For Barcelona fans, that's great. But in other news today, a game that I was excited for.
You sent me this picture. You sent me this.
I was hoping we would watch it.
Yeah, I'm down.
Well, it's already passed. We already.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we already missed it. It's okay.
Who won?
It was tied 0-0. Yeah. So Bayern Leverkusen. Leverkusen. I'm not German. I can't really. They were playing today, and they tied 0-0. It was a draw at the end of the game. But one of my favorite players, Chicharito, who I thought played really well at Real Madrid before he was cut from Man U. He has, in recent news, which is odd because I don't disagree with him, but he has, I guess, self-proclaimed. From what I read, he feels that he's the most underrated player in Bundesliga, which is the league he's in right now.
Yeah. And he's a tremendous.
I mean, yeah.
This is coming from someone that doesn't really watch soccer much. I do every once in a while follow soccer, but he is a very, and I felt bad because he was at Man U. I feel like he was underrated and he was coming off the bench a lot.
Yeah.
Here's.
And he kind of brought it up, I think, when he got transferred. He's got a lot of talent. He's one of those players that I even admit, and I'm a huge Javier Hernandez fan. He admitted himself that he was inconsistent, and which is true. He was definitely inconsistent. It's not something that I feel maybe was a secret, but he was definitely not on the pitch all day, every day, making every goal that was possibly, able to be made. But anyways, great player, great guy. Right now, I can't disagree with him. Let me see. I probably should have already had this prepared, but I think he has the most goals in Bundesliga right now, and he's been on a tear, and he said himself that, I think halfway through his tear recently, even like a few weeks ago, when he hasn't even accomplished what he's done in the past couple weeks, he mentioned that it's not necessarily scoring all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily, being on the pitch all the time, but it's just starting. It's
Yeah.
just getting that familiarity with everything, with your teammates, getting
Yeah.
that chemistry. With Man U, he definitely didn't get that, and I know there were times he struggled. He missed a few PKs, I believe. And then when he went on loan to Real Madrid, he actually played really well at the end of the loan, and I was hoping that they would keep him, but they ended up looking for other strikers, or going with other strikers instead. But yeah, like I said, I think he's great. But yeah, that was one of the recent, I guess, with all the transfer news that's going around. That was one of the recent headlines, was him declaring himself, one of the most underrated players, or the most underrated player in Bundesliga. Which, like I said, I kind of have a hard time disagreeing right now. Yeah, no, he's had in the German league. He's definitely had a much better career, much more consistent career as of late so far. In his short career, I mean, he's rumored to be transferred. A lot of, I think it was it PSG? Who was recently? There were a couple clubs wanting to make offers for him. And to be honest, I can't remember which ones. Was it PSG? There are a couple of the bigger name ones. Obviously in Europe they have, an insane amount of teams.
Yeah.
And in leagues here in the States, it's like, hey, MLS. Here's our 12 teams. I don't even know how many teams. But yeah. So anyways, So in the football world, we had Neymar's insane stats, and my little headline of the day was Chicharito. Yeah, going from football to football.
Who you got? I mean, tomorrow we've got the Super Bowl. We
do have the Super Bowl.
We got Cam Newton versus Peyton Manning, the Carolina Panthers versus Denver Broncos.
Yep.
Who do you got?
I'm taking the Denver Broncos. No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
You know what? I don't know who to take.
Honestly, I don't care who wins. I love both quarterbacks.
You do.
I would like to see Peyton Manning win one more, but I would like to see Cam win his first also. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think that it's going to be a defensive game, honestly. I don't think it's really going to be too much of a high offensive game.
And yeah, I would have to agree with you there. The one thing with, as a Cowboys fan, I was happy to see DeMarcus Ware, who really, I mean, had a really good game. It's specifically a couple weeks ago. He just kind of went on a tear, kind of vintage Cowboys tear that we were used to seeing in Dallas. Obviously you got Von Miller, who was player of the game that game. Their defense is, I don't remember what they ranked in this year, but they're going against a high octane offense.
Yeah, I believe it's
Panthers.
They're both very high ratings, but I just hope it's not going to be another one where Peyton Manning gets blown out in the Super Bowl like he did against Seattle.
Yeah, it was rough.
So
I believe in Peyton and his ability to finish games, when they count. I know he's only had one ring his entire career, which is a little surprising.
I want to see him tie Eli and go out and retire after this year. I would like to see that.
That
but
would be a high note.
I'm going to say...
Okay, so you got points.
That's something. I'm trying to... I've got... Man.
Struggling.
I'm going to go 24-17.
Okay. I'm actually... Wow.
Broncos.
17 is one of mine. I'm going to go 17-14 Broncos. I'm sorry. 21-17 Broncos. I think the defense might have a pick six.
And we may be wrong. It may be 42-7.
Right.
I'm not...
53-46.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, that we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a good game. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think hopefully it'll be better than the commercials. Commercials kind of suck as of late, but that's okay.
All right. Well, I think that does it for us. I think we've touched everything. Hope we get back to you next week. But for Sports Pod, we're signing off. So see you next week.